Hi guys, and welcome back to another video in a series of videos around the Panasonic Lumix G9. This time I thought I'd do something a little different, just around the Lumix Tether app, and it's going to be a shortish video, something that you may or may not find interesting. I thought I'd have a look at it and see if it's going to be of any value. So before I get stuck into the video, I'd just like to say thank you to those who have subscribed, and thank you to those who've passed all those positive comments. It is much appreciated and encouraging for me to continue with these videos. So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing, because I'm going to be unpacking the Lumix G9 and cameras in general, everything from aperture to zoom, as the name implies. If you haven't already watched the first two videos I've made, just giving an introduction to the Lumix G9 and then one going through the settings and setup. So look, without any further ado, let's get stuck into this Lumix Tether app. So it's reasonably straightforward. If you've downloaded any program before, make sure you select this one, the Lumix Tether download. Don't use the one for streaming, it's a beta version. And then another tip, before you actually launch the app, make sure you go into the camera settings and make sure the Lumix Tether is selected. I'll do a little video inset just to show you where you can find that setting. And then once that's all done, you will be greeted with this type of arrangement. I'll just switch this off and come back to that in a minute. So you've got what is like I suppose a little interface or a little desktop or whatever you want to call it, and it's reasonably straightforward. You've got this toggle button which can change the size if you like, and then I'll just run through some of these settings really quickly. I would just encourage you to have a play. Now some of these settings change depending on what your drive dial is. At the moment I've got the camera set to manual mode, meaning I can change the shutter speed, aperture and the ISO. But if you, for example, move that to movie mode, then your picture quality and certain things are not available. So just be mindful of that and take note of what your camera is currently set to. So I'll start off at the bottom and work my way up. In the setting button, it opens up another menu. Reasonably straightforward stuff in there. You can select where you'd like your photos to be saved to, either the memory card or the PC. You also have a choice as to where you'd like your photos to go to. I've got an external hard drive. I prefer keeping all my footage, video footage and photos on external hard drives, thus not clogging up the computer and making it slow. Because with all the apps that we put on these computers, it does affect performance. And then I automatically create subfolders by date. I don't see any harm in that. You can change the file names if you so choose, and if you shoot in RAW, you can have the RAW file transfer on. So look, have a play through that, and then you can set that to whatever your preferences are. Moving up, you can adjust the white balance here. I typically keep it on automatic white balance. It is easier. Once again, you can click on the old metering mode and change that. We covered these things in our previous videos, so if you want to know what the best settings are for those, I would encourage you to watch those videos. Photo style we also spoke about. We just keep that on standard. Typically AF mode, because we're using back button focus, that also just stays the same. AFC, automatic focus continuous. And then picture quality, we're either shooting in JPEG fine, which is the best setting, or in absolute RAW if you so prefer. I'm probably going to be migrating to RAW in future videos, but for the time being, for purposes of learning, I'll keep it in fine and JPEG for the time being. Picture size, we always want the largest and best. Exposure compensation we can tweak here, and then like I said, ISO, shutter speed, aperture and automatic white balance. Certain drive dials, obviously you have to go into the camera to change it. And then what this does is, before I get to the video record button on the left, and this is our camera shutter button on the right here. probably a good segue into bringing up our live view. But before I do, you do have an option of adding additional cameras, and you can select the camera that you want to use, which may or may not be handy. So progressing on to our live view, I've got my little doggy pillow here as a subject because I don't have anybody else I can use as a subject. So Prince is his name, so he's going to be helping us out for the day. So before I get to actually taking a photo and demonstrating how to use this, there is another little toggle switch on the left here, which if you click that, it opens up another menu which gives you access to checking things like your level. You can add a grid, for our rule of thirds, which is also handy. There is a guideline. Now the guideline allows you to shift your guide either left or right, and that is kind of important, especially if you do quite a bit of graphics and you add sort of things to your footage, because on a television it may get cropped out, on an iPhone or iPad. So those guidelines do come in handy. I learned that when I was using Apple Motion. They've got what they call safe zones, and provided you fall within that safe zone, you're going to be fine, especially when it comes to certain graphics and things like that. So that is absolutely handy to know. I typically like my screen to be less cluttered. So moving on, we've got the shear overlay. Apparently you can put a file in here and then do some other things to it. I haven't really had the chance to play with it. I'm keen to have a play, but once I do, I may make another video. We all know what our histogram is, and we need to get that nicely in the middle, or I'm not sure how this one works in particular, but I'm sure it's similar to other histograms. And then what the zoom in scale is, it allows you to view like a little inset, and then you can change your focus increments. You can go up in increments of one full thing. I think that's the maximum. You see, you can go down, or you can go in smaller increments if you want to zoom in a bit closer. So that allows you to get your focus really sharp. So let's just go really tight in over here, for example, maybe as close as we can there. So now we're happy with our focus, we're happy with our composition, we've maybe set up with our grid and so forth. We then hit our AF button, which is exactly the same as you would on the camera, to bring your focus in. Once your focus is in, you can see your box is nice and green, your line is nice and level, and bang, you can take the shot, all right? And then it automatically brings up a nice preview for you. This is, for some reason, it's very big. I'll just reduce that size a little bit, just so that it's not so overwhelming in size. And then you've got your nice preview that you can have a look and think, oh well, that came out okay, or you can recompose your shot and take another one. So I kind of find that very handy. So that's what the zoom in scale does. There is a live view. Don't know what that really does. It says auto, or you can turn it to the side. Why you'd want to do that, I suppose, if you're shooting vertically maybe. Live view quality, standard, fine and low. So yeah, you can have a play, and once again set those things up to your heart's content. So using this particular Tether app, I would find quite handy maybe in like a studio environment where you really need to, or you really want to get your shots absolutely spot on. It's obviously not quite useful out in the field. One little disadvantage is the cable's quite short, so depending on how your studio setup is or what you're planning to do, you may end up needing a longer cable, which I believe you can get. What else can I tell you about? When I was preparing for this video, while the camera's on, obviously the app's going to be working quite fine, but the minute the camera goes to sleep, ping, that's obviously the connection is lost. And I have had it lose connection even when the camera didn't go to sleep. So it can be a little glitchy, I find, but by and large it seems to be reasonably stable, and it does add another, I suppose, aspect to what it is we want to do. Just some good I suppose, knowledge to have. I did test it a little bit. I might try and put a little inset in, and it does seem to work quite well as a streaming camera, all right? But whether that's, yeah, with the glitchiness and all that, it may cause some problems. But as you can see with this video, it's lasted the entirety of this video without any problem. So look guys, I hope that makes sense. I'll just switch these things off, and can't really add anything else to that. Whether I would use it or not, time will tell. But I will certainly update videos if I do find more of a use for it as we progress through this series. So look, thanks for watching, appreciate it. Hit the old like button if you liked it, subscribe if you loved it, and then we will progress to the next one. Over and out. Cheerio. Bye bye.